Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Part 3, lawyer Henry Utterson returns to his home after being informed of his friend Dr. Jekyll's illness. He feels great concern about Jekyll's health and his increasingly strange behavior recently. In a long letter, Jekyll expresses his firm intention to sever all ties with Utterson and his other friend, Dr. Lanyon. He emphasizes that he will not communicate with anyone anymore, not even Utterson, and requests that he respects his total isolation. Utterson is stunned because Jekyll, who had recently seemed happy and full of life, suddenly begins isolating himself. Utterson learns that Jekyll has completely cut ties with Lanyon, and then is shocked when Lanyon dies suddenly. He discovers that Lanyon left him a strange letter in a sealed envelope, containing a warning regarding mysterious details concerning Jekyll. As Utterson continues to visit Jekyll, he starts noticing strange changes in his behavior. Jekyll spends most of his time in total seclusion in his room and is only seen rarely. Henry Utterson, the lawyer, is increasingly confused and anxious about his friend Dr. Jekyll, still trapped in a whirlpool of questions about the strange relationship between Jekyll and the frightening character, Mr. Hyde. Despite these concerns, Utterson continues his weekly outings with his friend Mr. Enfield, a routine that provides him with a temporary escape from the burdensome thoughts and brings him some peace. But during one of their outings, the two stop in front of that suspicious door, the same one where the story began. The door, which had been broken before, brings back unpleasant memories for Utterson and fills him with a sense of responsibility for what happened. As they wander, Utterson suggests to Enfield that they approach Jekyll's house to see if he is there. He remains worried about Jekyll's health. When they arrive, Utterson notices that the courtyard, which had always been neat and adorned with plants, is now neglected, with dry trees and wilting flowers. This unusual scene reinforces Utterson's feeling that something is terribly wrong. When Utterson calls out to Jekyll from beneath the window, the response is hesitant and sorrowful, with Jekyll explaining that he cannot come out to see them. He even apologizes for being unable to host visitors. But then, in an unexpected moment, a look of sheer horror appears on Jekyll's face, and his skin turns pale. Jekyll suddenly disappears from sight, and the curtains are hastily drawn across the window. The two men are stunned and stand in complete silence after what they have just witnessed. For them, it was a terrifying and mysterious moment. Utterson's suspicions begin to solidify. Is Mr. Hyde still in control of Jekyll? Is he the reason for this horrible transformation in his friend's appearance? Amid this turmoil, Utterson can only whisper, "God forgive us." What they had seen was unbelievable, yet they knew they could not tell anyone about it. On this dark, fearful night, Mr. Utterson is still suffering from the horror left by seeing Dr. Jekyll at the window. Despite his desperate attempts to push these thoughts away, anxiety takes hold of him. One evening, after dinner, he is surprised by an unexpected visit from Poole, Jekyll's servant, who appears to be in a state of great distress. Utterson exclaims, asking about Jekyll's condition, and Poole replies, "Sir, there's something terrible. I fear for Jekyll's life." Poole begins to explain that Jekyll has become more isolated than ever, locking himself in his office above the laboratory, which adds to his concern. However, Poole cannot pinpoint the exact cause of his anxiety, which only makes Utterson more nervous. Then, with obvious urgency, Poole says, "I believe there has been a crime." Utterson is shocked and rushes to investigate, convinced that he must see for himself. The streets are empty on that night. The air is oppressive and gloomy, as though something dreadful is about to happen. The two men arrive at Jekyll's house, confused and frightened. Poole shows little hope as he knocks on the door in a peculiar manner. When the door opens, they are greeted by a pale-faced woman, and soon the servants gather in the hallway, all of them in a state of panic. One of the maids bursts into tears when she sees Utterson, while Poole shouts at one of the servants to bring candles. Everyone is in a state of fear and deep worry. On that stormy night, Mr. Utterson follows Poole through the dark and desolate corridors of Dr. Jekyll's house, where Poole whispers in his ear, "It's better to keep quiet and just listen." Anxiety consumes Utterson, but his curiosity drives him to follow the servant into this strange scene. They climb the stairs to the laboratory, where Poole signals for Utterson to stand aside and listen. Poole then knocks softly on the door, saying, "Sir, Mr. Utterson has come to see you." A trembling voice answers from within, "Tell him I cannot see anyone." Poole pauses, then turns to Utterson, saying, "Was that my master's voice?" Utterson, his eyes nearly in tears, replies, "No, the voice has changed completely." Poole is certain of what he heard, and in pain he says, "That's not my master's voice. I've lived here for 20 years, and I know Jekyll's voice well. This voice, it's not his." Poole then recounts how Dr. Jekyll has been requesting a strange medicine, writing dozens of papers each day for Poole to bring him the drugs from the pharmacy. The doctor would refuse each time, screaming that the medicine was impure. But the strangest thing was the last line on one of the papers he left. "I beg you, please find me the old medicine." The handwriting was frantic, as if the writer were in a state of great panic. When Utterson asks if Poole is sure the handwriting is Jekyll's, Poole answers, "Yes, it's his handwriting, but I saw the man who wrote these papers." Poole shivers as he continues, saying he saw someone standing in the courtyard inspecting boxes. When he saw him, the man screamed and ran away. Poole thought it was Dr. Jekyll, but the man's behavior was so strange. If that was Jekyll, why would he run away like a mouse? Utterson, still in shock, tries to calm Poole and says, "Maybe he's having a nervous breakdown, and maybe the medicine is making him act this way. I hope I'm right, and that he recovers." But Poole, his doubt clear, insists, "This is not my master, Mr. Utterson. It's something else entirely. The man I saw was shorter and hunchbacked. He didn't resemble my master at all." In that moment, Utterson is filled with deep distress. Could it be that his old friend is dead? But how could this be? What is going on inside this strange house? There is only one option left for him, and he speaks in a low, sad voice. "Then we must break the door." As Mr. Utterson and Poole stand before the laboratory door, the tension fills the air. Utterson holds a fireplace poker in his hand, hesitating, but knowing that there is no avoiding the confrontation. "If the door doesn't open voluntarily, we'll have to break it," Utterson says softly. At that moment, they hear a trembling voice from inside. "Utterson, please have mercy on me." Utterson is horrified and says, "That's not Jekyll's voice. It's Hyde!" Poole shouted, and began hacking at the door with an axe, striking blow after blow until the door finally gave way. What they saw was shocking. A normal room with tea boiling and chemicals scattered about. But in the midst of all the chaos was the body of Dr. Jekyll, lying dead on the floor in a strange manner, as though it was the beginning of the dark end that overtook this man who had once been dear to everyone. In the eerie, desolate laboratory, a heavy silence lingered as Mr. Utterson and Poole cautiously moved forward, their feet filled with dread. Before them, on the carpet, lay the gruesome corpse of Edward Hyde, strangely wearing Dr. Jekyll's oversized clothes. Hyde's hand still clutched an empty vial, the very vial that had contained the poison, which seemed to have led to his death. Utterson spoke softly. "We've come too late. Hyde is gone, and we'll never find answers." However, another question lingered. Where was Dr. Jekyll? Was he alive or dead? The two men began their search, first in the laboratory, then moving to the dark courtyard, only to find no trace of their old friend, neither in the small rooms nor the abandoned basement. Utterson hesitated. Perhaps he's escaped? But when he checked the back door, he discovered the key was broken on the ground. They returned to the laboratory in silence, both avoiding looking at Hyde's body, as they were busy inspecting the chemical items on the table. It was clear that Hyde had been conducting an experiment, possibly the same ones Dr. Jekyll had once done himself. The kettle was boiling, the teacups were set, and the book was open on the table. When Utterson glanced at the margins of the book, he was shocked by what he read. The writing was in Jekyll's own hand, but the ideas were completely at odds with his personality. In the middle of the room, a full-length mirror lay in the corner, and Utterson picked it up, asking in surprise, "Why did Jekyll place this mirror in his study?" Poole, looking puzzled, replied, "This is the first time I've seen it here, sir." Then Utterson found an envelope addressed to him in Dr. Jekyll's handwriting. He opened it and found several hidden letters inside. The first letter mentioned a strange will, where the heir was Utterson himself, not Hyde, which left Utterson stunned. Then Utterson picked up another envelope, dated the same day, and read it with concern. "Oh, Poole, Jekyll was here today. He must have escaped." Poole said, "Let's read what's in the paper, sir." Utterson read the paper aloud. "Dear Utterson, when you find this letter, I will have disappeared. I cannot explain the circumstances of my disappearance, but I am certain it will happen soon, in a devilish manner. Please go and read the letter I sent to Lanyon before his death. And if you still wish to hear more, open the third envelope." Then Utterson handed Poole the third envelope, which was sealed tightly. He opened it, read it carefully, and said, "We'll keep this secret. We won't tell anyone what we've found. These are great secrets, and it's better to wait until I return after midnight to read everything in peace." Utterson and Poole left the laboratory, whispering softly to each other as Utterson's suspicions deepened. Everything in this place pointed to a darker mystery than just Hyde's death. Something invisible lurked in the shadows, and the closer Utterson got to uncovering it, the further the secret seemed to retreat. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications by pressing the bell button. Thank you for watching. See you in the part 4.